Jungkook BTS shocks fans worldwide after openly admitting his ideal type resembles IU, sparking chaos, rumors, and emotional turmoil behind the spotlight. The room went silent the moment Jungkook's words slipped out, unplanned, raw, and impossible to take back. "She's someone like IU," he said, his voice low yet steady under the glaring studio lights. The air thickened, cameras still rolling, the live broadcast capturing every breath, every flicker of disbelief in the eyes of the hosts. The producer froze behind the control desk, his headset crackling with static. The show was supposed to be a simple interview, light-hearted questions, a few laughs, a performance at the end. Nothing controversial, nothing dangerous. But this was dynamite. Across millions of screens, armies stopped mid-scroll, mid-sentence, mid-breath. Twitter detonated like a field of fireworks. Did Jungkook just say IU? Is he serious? What does he mean like IU? The world began dissecting his tone, his pause, his half-smile. Yet behind that calm smile, Jungkook's heart was pounding mercilessly. He knew what he had just done. He had crossed a line he had promised himself never to approach. The line between truth and illusion. When the cameras cut to a commercial, he leaned back in his chair, eyes darting toward the glowing on-air sign as if it might explode. His manager's phone was already buzzing nonstop. Messages flooded in, his agency, PR team, even fellow members. He didn't read them. He couldn't. His pulse was too loud in his ears. IU's name. It wasn't random. It had never been random. For years, he had admired her artistry, her calm strength, her unshakable presence. But it wasn't the kind of admiration fans imagined. It was quieter, heavier, something that lived beneath his ribs like a secret that refused to die. The crew swarmed the stage, fixing cables and preparing for the next segment. Jungkook stood up and walked toward the window overlooking the Seoul skyline. The night was bruised purple, the Han River gleaming below like a mirror to his confusion. His reflection in the glass looked like someone he barely recognized. The world's golden magne, beloved idol, flawless image. But behind the glass, all he saw was Jungkook, the man who had just spoken a truth he'd hidden for too long that he remembered the first time he met IU years ago at an award show. The soft-spoken greeting, her shy smile, the calm gravity in her gaze. It wasn't love, not then. It was recognition. He saw in her something terrifyingly familiar, the loneliness that comes with perfection. The silence behind applause. A knock came at the door. His manager stepped in, face pale. "We need to handle this," he said quietly. "The internet is going insane." Jungkook turned, shoulders tense but eyes strangely clear. "Let them," he whispered. "For once, I want to be real." Outside, the city pulsed with electric chaos. Headlines multiplied like wildfire. Fans debated. Hashtags trended in every language. But deep inside that storm, Jungkook felt something he hadn't felt in years: freedom. Terrifying, fragile, and blindingly honest. As he walked out of the studio, cameras flashing in the dark, he could already sense that nothing would ever be the same again. Not for him, not for IU, and not for the millions who thought they knew who he was. The night air bit cold against his skin, carrying the distant sound of fans shouting his name from the street below. He paused on the steps, looked up at the stars peeking through Seoul's haze, and let a small, reckless smile tug at his lips. For once, Jungkook had told the truth, and the world wasn't ready for it. The storm behind the smile. The next morning, Seoul woke to chaos. Every major entertainment outlet had Jungkook's name plastered across their headlines. Jungkook BTS mentions IU as his ideal type. Fans react in shock. What did he mean by IU? Big hit issues no comment amid rumor frenzy. In a sleek black van cutting through the morning traffic, Jungkook sat in silence. His phone vibrated nonstop, yet he hadn't touched it since dawn. The city outside blurred past his window, a streak of colors and noise that couldn't penetrate the storm inside his mind. His manager exhaled heavily from the front seat, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, we're handling it." "No, he's fine. Please tell them to hold the statement until noon." He glanced at Jungkook through the rearview mirror, eyes sharp with worry. "You've started a fire, Jungkook. And right now, everyone's waiting to see if it burns you or saves you." Jungkook didn't answer. His fingers traced the edge of his hoodie, absently tugging at a loose thread. He could still feel the echo of last night's confession vibrating in his chest like a stubborn heartbeat. He wasn't supposed to say it. Every idol knew the rule. Never name names. Never make it personal. But it had slipped out with the weight of 1,000 unsaid words by the time he reached the HYB building. The entrance was already surrounded by reporters. Flashes blinded him the second he stepped out. Jungkook, do you have feelings for IU? Is it true you've been in contact with her? Will BTS address this officially? He kept his head down, walking fast, his manager shielding him from the surge of cameras. Inside the building, silence wrapped around him again like armor. The smell of disinfectant, the hum of fluorescent lights, ordinary, yet strangely suffocating. In the meeting room upstairs, the rest of the BTS members were waiting. Namjoon leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Jimin's brows were furrowed, concern plain in his eyes. Taeyoon gave a low whistle as Jungkook entered. You really did it this time, he muttered. Jungkook met their gazes one by one. Yeah, he said quietly. I did. Namjoon sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. You realize what this means, right? The fans, the press, IU's team, they're all going to spin this however they want. It's not just about you anymore. I know, Jungkook replied. His voice was calm, but his jaw was tight. But I'm tired of pretending. Every interview, every script, it's always fake smiles, controlled words. Yesterday, for the first time, I said something real. Jimin leaned forward, tone gentle but firm. Being real doesn't mean being reckless. Jungkook's lips twitched into a humorless smile. Maybe I don't know the difference anymore. For a moment, no one spoke. The sound of the air conditioner filled the gap, cold and mechanical. That afternoon, while the company's PR team drafted their statement, Jungkook slipped away to the rooftop. The wind whipped through his hair, the chill stinging his face. Below, Seoul shimmered with life. Cars crawling like veins of light, skyscrapers glittering like cold stars. That he pulled out his phone at last. Thousands of notifications blinked across the screen. Mentions, edits, memes, fan debates. But one message stopped him cold. It was from an unknown number. You've caused quite the storm, haven't you? The text was short, direct, and oddly familiar. His breath caught. He knew that tone, that quiet confidence wrapped in warmth. His thumb trembled slightly as he typed back. Is this IU? A few seconds passed. Then the reply came. Let's talk. The city's noise faded into a dull hum. Jungkook stared at the screen, his pulse racing faster than any stage heartbeat. In that single moment, between the wind and the glow of his phone, he realized something terrifying. His words had not only shaken the world, they had reached her. The message that changed everything. The rooftop wind howled like a restless spirit, tugging at Jungkook's hoodie as the phone screen glowed in his trembling hand. Let's talk. Just 2 words, and yet they cut through the chaos louder than any headline. He stared at the message, uncertain if it was real. Maybe it was a prank, a trick by the media, or worse, a fan pretending to be her. But deep down, something told him it wasn't. The phrasing, the calm tone, the confidence hidden in simplicity, it felt like IU. For years, he had studied her interviews, her songs, her way of speaking. He knew her rhythm. And this was her rhythm. He typed back, his fingers hesitating over each letter. When? The reply came almost instantly. Tonight. 11 p.m. Studio One, Hanum. No emoji. No explanation. Just coordinates dropped like a secret between spies. Jungkook's breath quickened. Studio One, her personal recording space, famously private. The place where she created her albums, where no one entered unless invited. If this was real, she was opening a door he had never imagined would be meant for him. Downstairs, the building buzzed with tension. The company's PR statement was being finalized, and the members were preparing for a live broadcast to reassure fans. But Jungkook's mind was already elsewhere, pulled toward the clock, the night, and the chance of seeing her. Hours blurred by like smoke. He practiced his lines for the live stream, nodding at staff, pretending everything was normal. Cameras clicked, lights flashed, but inside he was counting down. At 10:47 p.m., he slipped out of the dorm unnoticed. A black mask covered half his face, his hood drawn low. The Seoul night was cold, the streets nearly empty, neon lights flickering on rain-slick sidewalks. He moved quickly, each step echoing like a heartbeat. When he arrived at the studio, the door was already slightly ajar. A soft melody drifted through the hallway. Faint, melancholic, unmistakably hers. He paused for a moment, hand hovering over the doorframe, gathering courage. Then he stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, bathed in the soft amber glow of studio lamps. Cables coiled across the floor like veins of light. And there she was, sitting by the piano, her profile calm and unreadable. Dayu turned slowly, her eyes meeting his through the haze of quiet. No cameras, no fans, no noise. Just two artists suspended in a silence thick with history. "I didn't think you'd actually come," she said softly, a faint curve in her lips. Jungkook swallowed. "Neither did I." She motioned toward the seat across from her. "Sit." He obeyed. His heartbeat was a roar in his ears, but her presence was strangely grounding. She wore a simple white sweater, her hair tied loosely, eyes sharp yet gentle, like the lyrics she wrote, always beautiful and a little sad. "I watched the interview," she said finally. "You surprised a lot of people." "I surprised myself," Jungkook admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "It just came out." IU studied him quietly. "Why me?" He hesitated. He could have given a rehearsed answer, something safe, diplomatic. But instead, he told the truth. "Because you're real. You don't pretend to be perfect. You sing what hurts. You're not afraid to be human." A flicker of something passed through her eyes. Pain, nostalgia, recognition. "And you think that's your type?" she asked softly. Jungkook exhaled slowly. "No. I think that's what I wish I could be." The silence that followed was fragile, almost sacred. Outside, rain began to fall, tapping against the window in uneven rhythm. IU turned toward the piano again, her fingers brushing the keys. A few notes escaped, sad, searching. "You know what happens if people find out we met?" she said without looking at him. "It'll destroy your peace. And mine." "I know," Jungkook said, "but maybe the truth is worth the risk." She looked up then, and for a fleeting second, their eyes met with a force that stripped away everything. The fame, the fear, the noise of the world outside. Then she smiled faintly. "You're still too young to say things like that." "Maybe," he said, returning her gaze. "But I meant it." The song continued between them, half improvised, half confessional, two melodies intertwining without a plan. When it ended, the silence felt heavier than before. IU closed the piano lid gently. "Go home, Jungkook. The storm's just starting." He stood slowly, heart pounding, knowing she was right. Yet as he walked out into the rain, her voice lingered in his mind like an unfinished lyric, and somewhere deep inside, he knew this wasn't the end. It was only the first note of something far more dangerous. Whispers in the rain hammered against the van windows as Jungkook leaned his head back, eyes half closed. The night air was thick with the smell of wet asphalt and city electricity. Every drop that struck the glass seemed to echo the rhythm of his pulse. Uneven, restless, alive. He could still see her. IU, sitting under the amber studio light, fingers ghosting over piano keys, eyes that seemed to see right through his carefully constructed walls. That meeting had lasted less than an hour, yet it felt like it had cracked open something he'd been trying to hide for years. His phone buzzed again. Dozens of messages. "Namjoon, where are you?" "Manager, we need you back." "Now. Big hit PR. Do not post or comment online. We'll control the narrative." He turned the screen off without replying. The glow of Seoul shimmered beyond the rain. Neon, fractured, beautiful. A city that never slept, feeding on gossip and secrets. Tonight, it was feeding on his. Back at the dorm, the air was heavy. Taeyoung was pacing near the kitchen. Jimin sat on the couch scrolling through his phone, and Namjoon looked up the second Jungkook entered. "You went to see her," Namjoon said flatly. It wasn't a question. Jungkook froze for a moment, then nodded. "Yes." The silence that followed was louder than any argument. Taeyoung stopped pacing, staring at him. "You really don't care what happens, do you?" "I care," Jungkook replied, voice low. "But I can't keep pretending I don't feel anything. I've spent years saying what I'm told to say, smiling when I don't want to. I'm done with that." Namjoon's tone softened, but his words carried weight. "You think honesty will free you, but it might destroy you instead." Jungkook met his gaze. "Then maybe destruction is what I need." That night, he didn't sleep. The rain continued until dawn, tapping against his window like a heartbeat that wouldn't rest. At 3 a.m., he opened his laptop. The internet was still burning. Hashtag Jungkook IU had trended for nearly 12 hours. Fans were divided, some defending him, others furious, some spinning conspiracies that bordered on madness. Photos of IU from years ago were being dissected next to his lyrics. Every word now suspect, every gesture interpreted as hidden meaning that he scrolled endlessly, reading the chaos he had unleashed. But one post made him stop. It was a blurry photo, taken outside IU's studio. His van, unmistakable, parked near the entrance, his chest tightened. Someone had seen him. Within hours, news outlets picked it up. Jungkook BTS spotted near IU's studio late at night. What's going on? By noon, both agencies had released official statements denying any personal connection. Coincidental timing, they said. Professional respect between artists. A well-written lie, crafted to calm the storm. But the damage was already done. When Jungkook arrived at rehearsal later that day, the air was cold. Staff avoided eye contact. The members worked in silence, tension sharp as glass. Cameras recorded their every move, pretending everything was fine. During a short break, Jungkook retreated to a corner of the practice room, staring at his reflection in the mirror. Sweat dripped down his neck, but the man staring back didn't look like him anymore. The eyes were heavier, older, like someone carrying a truth too dangerous to speak. Then his phone buzzed again. A message, they found out. We need to be careful. No name. But he didn't need one. He knew it was her. He typed back, "Are you okay?" "I'm used to storms," she replied. "But this one feels different." He stared at the message, the corner of his mouth twitching in a faint, sad smile. Different. That was the right word for it. Everything around him was changing. His image, his freedom, even his sense of self. That night, he wandered alone through the streets of Itaewon, hood pulled low, rain falling again like memory. He stopped near a small cafe that used to play her songs late at night. A familiar melody drifted from inside, her voice soft and bittersweet, singing of a love that could never exist under the spotlight. And as he listened, Jungkook realized something. He hadn't fallen for IU the celebrity. He had fallen for the silence in her songs, the unspoken ache that mirrored his own. Somewhere between fame and loneliness, between truth and disaster, two lives had collided, and the world was watching every second of it. But as the rain soaked through his hoodie and the city pulsed around him, Jungkook finally smiled to himself. For the first time in years, he didn't care who was watching, because for once, he was living something real. Between the spotlight and the shadow, the rehearsal room was silent, except for the dull thud of Jungkook's heartbeat in his ears. He stood in front of the mirror, chest rising and falling, sweat dripping from his jawline. Around him, the other members practiced with automatic precision, but no one said much. The rhythm that once united them now felt fractured, hesitant. The storm outside had spilled into their world. "Break time," Namjoon finally said, wiping his face with a towel. The others scattered, Taeyong heading to the vending machine, Jimin stretching near the corner, Yoongi silently scrolling through his phone. Jungkook remained where he was, staring at his own reflection, searching for the boy he used to recognize. His phone vibrated again. This time, the message wasn't from IU. From unknown. "You should have stayed quiet. You're not the only one who can lose everything." His stomach dropped. The air in the room felt suddenly heavier. He glanced around. No one seemed to notice. Quickly, he locked the screen and shoved the phone into his pocket. For the next few hours, he tried to push it aside. He danced harder, sang louder, anything to drown the noise inside his head. But the message clung to him like smoke. By evening, he couldn't ignore it anymore. When he stepped outside the HYBE building, the sky had turned violet with twilight. A soft drizzle fell, the kind of rain that blurred the city lights into watercolor smears. He pulled up his hood and started walking aimlessly, every footstep echoing like a question he couldn't answer. Then his phone rang. The caller ID made his breath hitch. Lee Jiun. IU's real name. That he answered immediately. "Jiun." Her voice was calm but strained. "You got a message too, didn't you?" Jungkook stopped walking. "Wait. You mean, someone sent one to me this morning," she interrupted. Same tone. No name. "They said, the truth always costs something." His pulse raced. "Who would do that?" "Someone who knows," she said quietly. "Someone inside." He looked around instinctively. as if the threat could be lurking in the shadows of the street. Cars passed, a motorbike roared by, but suddenly, every sound felt menacing. "We can't talk over the phone," IU continued. "Too many years. Meet me tomorrow. Same place, same time." Before he could respond, the line went dead. That night, Jungkook barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, the words replayed. "You're not the only one who can lose everything." It wasn't just about him anymore. Whoever was behind this knew. About the meeting. About her. About them. The next day, he arrived at Studio One before her. The rain had stopped, but the clouds still hung heavy and low. He paced near the window, the smell of old coffee and dust thick in the air. When IU entered, she was wearing a cap and sunglasses, but even under the disguise, her expression was sharp, calm on the surface, but her hands trembled slightly as she removed her coat. "They sent this to my manager too," she said, handing him her phone. The message read, "End it before they end you." Jungkook's grip tightened around the phone. "They're threatening you." She nodded slowly. "And they'll make it look like a scandal if we don't stop meeting. My team's already suspicious. They're monitoring my movements." "Then let me handle it," Jungkook said, stepping closer. "I'll tell them it's my fault." Her hand caught his wrist. "No," her voice was firm. "If you take the blame, they'll destroy you. The fans, the company, the media, they'll all eat you alive. You know how this industry works." He met her gaze, his chest tightening. "Then what do we do?" IU hesitated, then whispered, "We disappear. Just for a while. Until this dies down." The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Jungkook looked at her, really looked. The calm mask she always wore was cracking, revealing fear, exhaustion, and something else beneath it, something tender. "You're scared," he said softly. Her eyes glistened. "Aren't you?" He smiled faintly. "All the time." For a long moment, they just stood there, two people trapped between fame and truth, wanting something simple that their world refused to allow. Then IU turned away, her voice almost a whisper. "Tomorrow night. There's a villa outside Seoul. No cameras, no press. We'll talk there." Jungkook nodded slowly, knowing that every choice from here on would have consequences. But he also knew something else. He couldn't turn back now. As she left, the door closing softly behind her, Jungkook exhaled and looked out at the fading city lights. Somewhere beyond that horizon, a new storm was waiting. One that wouldn't just threaten his career, but the fragile connection between two people who were never supposed to collide. And for the first time, he wondered if love in their world was ever meant to survive the light. The song they couldn't silence, the morning soul woke to their confession. The sky was the color of ash. Headlines blazed across every screen. Jungkook and IU reveal secret collaboration, not romance. It wasn't the full truth, but it was enough. The video they released together, a simple clip of them in the studio, laughing softly, her playing piano while he sang a raw, unfinished melody, spread like wildfire. The internet exploded. The world chose sides. Some believed their story, others didn't. But for the first time, Jungkook didn't care which version people wanted to believe. That he stood by the window of his apartment, watching the chaos unfold from afar. His phone was vibrating nonstop, calls from managers, messages from members, even producers wanting to capitalize on the storm. But he ignored it all. On his laptop, the song they had finished that night in the villa played on repeat. It didn't have a title, only a feeling. Her voice came in first, soft, fragile, like dawn breaking through fog. Then his followed, deeper, steady, like a heartbeat answering hers. The lyrics were simple. Two shadows in the spotlight, learning how to breathe. They said the truth would burn us, but maybe fire's what we need. A quiet knock broke the moment. When he opened the door, Jimin stood there, cap pulled low, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You're trending in 50 countries, he said dryly, handing one to him. Jungkook took it with a faint smile. "How bad is it?" Jimin shrugged. "Depends on what you call bad. Half of the internet ships you too. The other half wants your agency to issue a statement." "And you?" Jungkook asked. Jimin leaned against the wall, expression softening. "I think you finally look free." For a moment, they just stood there in silence, the kind of silence that felt like understanding. Later that day, Jungkook walked alone to the Han River. The wind was sharp, scattering cherry blossoms across the gray water. Across the city, life went on. noisy, relentless, indifferent. Yet everything inside him felt still that he took out his phone and opened a message thread that had become too familiar. Her name glowed faintly on the screen. Lee Jiun, you okay? He typed that a few minutes passed before her reply came out. I'm fine. It's strange. I thought I'd be scared. But now, it feels peaceful. Maybe honesty isn't destruction. Maybe it's rebirth. He smiled. They'll keep talking. They always do, she wrote. Let them. We said what mattered. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then he typed one final line. When they stop watching, let's finish that song. There was a pause. Then her reply appeared, glowing in the fading light. Promise. That he slipped the phone back into his pocket, watching the river glint beneath the setting sun. Somewhere beyond the skyline, she was probably doing the same. Looking out at the world they'd both dared to confront. The air smelled of rain again, and the city lights began to shimmer like a sea of memories. Jungkook closed his eyes, breathing in the moment, the sound of the water mingling with the faint echo of her voice in his head. In a world that demanded perfection, they had chosen truth. It had cost them their peace, their safety, maybe even their future, but it had also given them something neither fame nor fear could take away. A song, a moment, a heartbeat that no rumor could rewrite. And as the wind swept across the Han River, Jungkook whispered the title he had never told anyone, the one he'd kept just for them, Real. Then he smiled, turned away from the water, and walked toward the lights of Seoul, no longer hiding, no longer pretending. Whatever came next, he was ready, because for the first time since the world had known his name, Jungkook was truly alive.